I think I may have figured out one of the biggest secrets behind Royal Caribbean's RoyalUp program. After recently winning a grand suite myself, I started asking one simple question. Why did my bid win? Royal Caribbean has never publicly explained exactly how RoyalUp works, so everything I'm sharing today is my own theory, based on how revenue management systems work. And here's the idea. I don't think Royal Caribbean is trying to choose the highest bidder. I think they're trying to make the most money from the entire ship. Let me show you what I mean. But first, I need your help. This channel has thousands of Royal Caribbean cruisers watching, and together we have a lot of real-world RoyalUp experience. So as you're watching this video, think about your own upgrade. At the end, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and if enough of you participate, I'll analyze all of the data and make a follow-up video. So here's what happened to us. We booked this cruise using one of our casino offers, so we only paid the taxes and port fees. Our original cabin was a junior suite. A few weeks before the sailing, Royal Caribbean invited us to bid through RoyalUp. The minimum bid to move into a grand suite was only $200 per person, so we bid the minimum and we won. When you stop and think about it, that's incredible. We went from paying only taxes and port fees to staying in a grand suite for about $400 total. If we had booked the same suite outright, it would have cost several $1,000s more. That is an amazing value. But then I started wondering, would someone in an interior cabin have been offered that same $200 minimum bid? Or did starting in a junior suite actually improve our chances? That's what led me down this rabbit hole. I think the answer comes down to something I call the upgrade ladder. Imagine every cabin on the ship stacked like this: grand suites, junior suites, balconies, ocean views, interiors. Now, imagine Royal Caribbean upgrades someone from a junior suite into a grand suite. That creates an empty junior suite. Someone in that balcony might pay to move into that junior suite. Now there's an empty balcony. Someone in an ocean view upgrades into the balcony. Now there's an empty ocean view. Someone in the interior upgrades into that. One upgrade can create several more paid upgrades. That's why I don't think Royal Caribbean is simply selling one upgrade. I think they're optimizing the entire ship. Now compare two passengers. Passenger number 1 starts in an interior cabin and wants a grand suite. If they get upgraded, Royal Caribbean has an empty interior cabin to work with. Passenger number 2 starts in the junior suite and upgrades to the grand suite. Now Royal Caribbean has an empty junior suite. So here's my question. Which room creates more opportunities for additional upgrades? I think the junior suite is much more valuable because it gives Royal Caribbean another premium cabin that they can potentially sell through RoyalUp. If that's how the system works, it would explain why your starting cabin might matter more than you think. Surely occupancy plays a huge role. If the ship is already full, there simply aren't many rooms to move people into. But if there are unsold suites, Royal Caribbean has much more flexibility to build that upgrade chain. Here's another question I've been thinking about. Does Royal Caribbean treat casino bookings differently? We simply don't know. Maybe the system only looks at what you paid for your cabin. Or maybe it looks at your overall value as a customer, including casino play and your history with Club Royale. Royal Caribbean hasn't said, but it's another interesting piece of the puzzle that I'm sure figures in there at some point. For Tony and I, the strategy is simple. Start with a casino offer. If RoyalUp presents a good opportunity, place a bid. If we lose, we still got a fantastic deal on the cruise. If we win, we may end up in a suite that would normally cost thousands of dollars more. Now, we need your help. If you've ever used RoyalUp, let us know these things in the comment. The ship, the original cabin, the cabin you bid on, the minimum bid and the amount you actually bid, and whether you won. And whether your cruise was booked with cash or through a casino offer. If enough of us share these experiences, I think we'll start seeing some patterns. I'll put everything into a spreadsheet, analyze the results, and make a follow-up video. If you found this video helpful, we'd really appreciate it if you'd give the video a thumbs up. And if you're new here, consider subscribing because we're always looking for ways to cruise smarter, spend less, and get more value out of every vacation. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.